Well, hey there, Southern Oregon. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show. So glad you could join us again. I'm Alice Lema, broker John L. Scott in Southern Oregon. I'm your host of the Real Estate Show. And today we are so grateful to have Guy Giles and Beth Rodriguez of Churchill Mortgage on the show. Guy Giles comes on every month to bring us up to speed about what's been going on. And goodness gracious, not a moment too soon. Boy, have we had a just very, very topsy-turvy month. We've got more interest rates changes. We've got a lot of inflation issues, and that inflation takes a bite out of household budgets of people that are trying to buy and sell and invest here in Southern Oregon. So Guy Giles and Beth Rodriguez of Churchill Mortgage will be coming on the show to talk about how that's all affecting us here. I think they might have a little bit of good news. We always try to end on a good note when possible. And also just how Southern Oregonians are dealing with all these financial changes. And additionally, world events can cause some havoc in the financial worlds as well. So before we get to chat with Guy Giles and Beth Rodriguez of Churchill Mortgage, we're going to take a quick second and talk about what's going on in the local market. And lately, we've been monitoring the micro movements. We've been going week to week, year to date, just to see if we can spot any trends occurring. So Jackson County, this time last year compared to this year, our active listings are up 61%. Josephine County active listings from this time this year to this week last year are up 48%, and Klamath County is at dead zero. So that's interesting because Klamath County has not had that equal number for quite a while. So let's move quickly over to what our closings are this week from this time last year. It looks like Jackson County is closings are down 50% from this week last year. Josephine County is down 64% from this time last year, and Klamath County is down 51% from this time last year. Now, again, this is just residential houses. This is not the entire market. We don't have time to do all that, but it is a quick snapshot into what's going on. The number of active listings are up in all three counties. The number of closings are down, but it's week to week, very micro. So just stay tuned week to week and we'll see what happens next. We're going to chat briefly here with Guy Giles and Beth Rodriguez of Churchill Mortgage. We're brought to you by Churchill Mortgage, John L. Scott, Ashland, and Medford, and our local Rogue Valley Association of Realtors. Thank you so much to all our sponsors. We'll be right back with a quick word. Don't touch that dial. Well, hello, Southern Oregon, and welcome back to the Real Estate Show. So glad you could join us again today. I'm Alice Lema, broker here in John L. Scott, beautiful Southern Oregon, and we are so grateful to have Guy Giles and Beth Rodriguez of Churchill Mortgage back. They're with our local in-house lending company, Churchill Mortgage, and it's been a month since we've talked to you guys, and it's been such a crazy month. I could not wait for you to come back.
Yeah, we're definitely doing some adjusting right now. You know, everybody's either scared to death or a little bit optimistic that they might find a deal on a house. For a while there, it was just sellers, and now it kind of feels like they might just be giving up a little bit. Even Hayden Homes that we had on last time, they're actually giving, I believe, $20,000 towards buying down your rate, or whatever you want to apply it to. And we've actually done a little bit of math, and I think everybody's kind of getting on board with this at this point, as far as instead of doing a really big price reduction on your house, say you drop it $50,000, maybe just offer $20,000 in pricing concessions, and we can buy down your rate. And it feels like the good old days, just a few months ago when we had lower rates. So everybody wins. You're not dropping the price of your house quite as much, and the buyer can get in and have a rate that's a little more comparable to where we were not that long ago.
Well, it's certainly a creative time. And boy, what a difference in just a few weeks. The market just feels completely different.
It's been crazy. I mean, generally, rates drop after the Fed raises rates. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but we trade on what are called mortgage-backed securities. And we have guys and gals that are trading probably up in someplace in New York City where they're just watching these things. So any kind of a rate increase has been baked in before the Fed actually raises rates. So we actually had rates drop considerably kind of after well, starting right as they spoke.
So I just want to make sure I understand. Are you saying that we just had like this huge additional rate increase and yet the mortgage rates went down?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And a lot of it just has to do with stability over the long term of your investment. You know, obviously inflation is not our friend in this business in general, you know, in general, I guess unless you're selling your house. But for the most part, if you're going to get locked in for say 10 years on a 10-year treasury or 30 years on a mortgage loan, you don't want to get caught loaning out at 4.5% if all of a sudden inflation's at 8%, because then you really wouldn't gain anything. So a lot of it has to do with just safety when they're buying these mortgage-backed securities or buying the treasuries or different things like that. And so really, if the market is a little scary, like we had a second quarter, you know, where our GDP didn't grow, technically in any history, we would be in what's called a recession. I don't think our administration right now wants to admit that. So anyway, it is what it is. I won't elaborate on that. But everybody knows we're going through a little bit more of a trying time. So that said, people fly more to safety because you're not going to have the stock market going crazy like it has been. You know, just kind of while we breath and adjust to this. I think the Fed is finally stepping in and doing the right things. They're out of their denial as far as, you know, the slowdown and everything. You're saying that it's going to be so transitory that it's over in a week. And the more they take it serious, the better off we are. So anyway, let's just rip the Band-Aid off, basically.
So when you say rates went down, can you give me an example?
Well, conforming rates went from, you know, the low mid sixes down into, you know, comfortably into the fives.
Wow, that's a big change.
It is. And then you couple that, like I said, with some of the sellers, you know, maybe being willing to give a little bit when you're writing that offer. And again, instead of lowering your house by $15,000-$20,000, just give $5,000 to the buyer. That'll make him or her feel a little bit more warm and fluffy about, you know, the rate that they're going to get, because the buy downs are actually pretty attractive right now. You know, I've done a little bit of math on a few of these different ones that we've dealt with, and you know, it's some of them you're saving $75,000 in interest by the seller buying the rate down a little bit. So it's worth the conversation to have with your real estate agent. You know, you don't want to be negotiating these kinds of things on your own. So,
well, and also you need the real estate agents to be writing that in their offer or talking to the seller's rep about that. So it's so cool that Hayden Homes just offers that right up front. You know, we were showing some of their houses this week, and it was very impressive. The presentation they give about that, and that credit they're offering to let you use that for landscaping or closing costs or buy down the rate. And that idea that sellers right now can use that instead of a big price change, I think is just a great idea.
It's actually working out. You know, we spoke with Adam Rutledge, John Ford, just a few different people in the last week, and everybody's just, like you said, just getting creative like you are. You know, you're one of those good agents here in town that knows, you know, sometimes you come up with something that surprises me even in my end of things. So that's why it's just important to have a good person to be doing it.
Well, and it's definitely tricky times. So Beth, how are your clients adjusting to all of these changes? What's going on with them?
The same, you know, just a little bit worried and scared, and a lot of those questions is it the right time to buy? And what I'm trying to do is just remind them, just change their perspective a little bit. And you know, that's still in the 6 years or anything under 6 is still a very good rate historically. And so just sharing with them, you know, especially the younger buyers and the first-time home buyers, sharing with them what the rates were years back so they can kind of see that. And it does help with that little bit of mind shift and kind of put them at ease. So,
when it really comes down to their payment, right?
Yeah. So I think too, you know, the possibility of having a seller credit and something that to be able to have that ease, you know, that really be better stuff for us.
Do we have any recession pushback where people are either losing their jobs or not getting raises? Is our local employer pool still strong enough?
So that it is, I haven't really come across where we're dealing with that.
No, I think we were pretty lucky even during COVID where, I mean, obviously you're not going to come into us, I guess. Maybe we just didn't see a lot of it, but you're not going to come in and try to buy a house right after you lost your job. Well, most people don't, but so maybe it's just stuff we're not seeing, but everybody seems to be well qualified, and some of these young kids, like she's talking about, they seem to be a lot more prepared, definitely more than I was at that age.
Don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Education. I think there's just so much more out there that education-wise they can get their hands on. There's more information and with the internet. I do think
And they're hungry for information. They are just some of the most well-prepared buyers ever. The younger, you're talking about the first-time home buyers?
Right.
Oh man. Yeah, we have gotten creative in a different way also. Like I've been saying for a while, these rates are going to drop. I don't know that this is the big dip, or drop that I was talking about, but it's all kind of tied together. Because I've been calling a little while, saying that
You did.
quarter next year, rates are going to drop, and this is all part of the same thing. But a lot of these investors, especially the big banks, you figure like JP Morgan, Chase, all of these people really do have their kind of hand on the pulse of what's going to happen down the road. And we can see that in what we call the jumbo loans. So around the mid 600,000 was it 635,000 is what Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are able to purchase. Above that, you go into what's called a portfolio loan, where the banks or the investors will just do it. If you look at their rates, they're a lot more aggressive than our regular 30-year fixed rates are.
Really?
And that just shows they don't want to have their portfolio bleed off in a few months when rates drop. So it's happening, and it's going to happen. Is this a little bit of a bounce for a little bit, and then we go back? Probably. But it's nice to be ready, be prepared, and then when these dips happen, then you can just kind of pull the trigger and get in with a good agent, have those properties coming out every day to you, so you can see what's fresh on the market, and you might just find that bargain that you've been looking for, and then couple that with a little bit in the rates, and you're in good shape. But we've actually had last week, I had one where it was just under that jumbo loan amount, and I actually had them go in and do 10% down instead of 20% down, take that lower rate with the jumbo one with no mortgage insurance. And then they can always, we have to look on the particular investors, but some investors will let you just re-amortize, but then you pay that part down to where you'd be anyway, a little bit later. And that's just, it's a one-off conversation to have with people, but we like to get as creative as we can to help them. I should probably be representing the bank, but, people before profits, that's our motto. And,
I think too, we've really been trying to focus on, not letting the market define us. So I think having that confidence really helps the buyers have a little bit more confidence too, instead of getting negative and saying, yeah, it's horrible, and kind of going into that fear. I think that helps us set us apart as well, to have that confidence and not feel the fear out, and just, really try to keep that education going too.
Well, and I'm really hearing from both of you a lot of positive perspective here, not gloom and doom. And that's definitely encouraging, because we've got a lot of different opinions out there right now, and it's hard to know. We won't know till it's all over, right? But, I'm kind of with you guys. There's opportunity in every market, and the price changes that the sellers are in the process of giving the market, it's just better opportunity. And as long as people can afford the payments, then we're all good, right?
Yeah, and just mathematically, if you are in a bidding war and you pay $50,000 more for a house, just paying a percentage more in rate, actually, it takes a long time to make up that 50,000 you went over on the house. So it's actually, there's a few different ways to look at this thing, that it's really not a bad time. And for us to have been around long enough to have been through a few of these things, overall they do go up. And just having that fixed in where you know what your payment's going to be, other than the tax man coming around every now and then and raising you up. I don't know. There's just comfort in that.
Yeah, that was a real eye opener when you brought that up a couple of weeks ago, Guy, that if you were in a bidding war and overpaying, that's actually worse than the situation we have now. It's more mathematically economical now. Yeah, even with the higher rates.
And just like Beth said, I mean, historically, they're still really good. I know people that never had lower than an 8, and they were thrilled to have it. And it's still sport, I want to do that all day long. I don't have a dog in the fight. I try to find the best deal I can.
Well, there's still a lot of houses being sold, and just being out on tour the last 10 days, the price changes are happening while you're out in the houses. They're going bing, bing, bing on the buyers' phones. It's really quite amazing.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah. So we've got to take a quick break. We're talking to Guy Giles and Beth Rodriguez of Churchill Mortgage. They're our in-house lenders. And I want to say thank you to sponsoring the show. Couldn't do it without you. We're also brought to you by John L. Scott, Ashland, Medford, and the local Rogue Valley Association of Realtors. The broadcast is also repeated on Sundays on this same station, Radio News Talk 880 KCMX, and it will be broadcast again on Sunday at 6 o'clock. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Well, hey there, Southern Oregon. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show. We're talking to Guy Giles and Beth Rodriguez of Churchill Mortgage, our in-house lenders. It's been kind of a chaotic month. I'm so happy to see you two today, kind of bring us up to speed on everything that happened.
Yeah, thanks. Just our heads kind of spinning. I mean, it was really slow for a couple of weeks, and now all of a sudden we just feel like we're getting phone calls like crazy again, and just kind of getting creative. A lot of that has to do with just, there is fear about the locks and, what's going to happen. And we can lock you for, 270 days. And then if the rates are lower at that point, which I think at that point they would be, I can't promise anything, obviously, but, we can lock you in, and if they're lower at that point, we can float you down to that rate. We have like a 30-day window before you close, but we can float down your rate to the current market. So
I find that amazing.
Yeah, I mean, they will hit you just a little up front as far as that goes, but if you take that buy down and it's lower at that point, then you don't get hit with it. But then you're completely protected, especially if you're doing a house or something and you're 5-6 months out as far as that goes. Other than that, we have locks all the way from 10 days, all the way, everything in between, so we can customize something. We also have, just for your regular person that's going out and buying a house, what we call lock and shop, where we'll get you credit underwritten, and it only takes a day or two, just depending on, how complicated everything is. Get you ready to go, we'll lock you in for 90 days, and you're protected from the rate going up. And again, if the rates are down when you actually close, we can give you that lower rate. So a few details here and there about them, but they are actually really good programs that are giving people peace of mind right now.
Well, and that really helps ease that problem we were having with the rates being so volatile.
Well, yeah, and this nice dip that we had in the last week, that's a perfect time to get you into the lock you in for 90 days. And, like I said, this one could be a little bit of a bounce, but, just for a short term, then they go up, but ultimately they will go down again. And if we can catch you on a good day that you locked in on that, then the rate's probably going to be better than it was anyway. So,
well, and how lucky is it? The prices are down a little tiny bit and the rates went down and we weren't expecting that. So we have what do you think? A couple weeks of that?
Yesterday was, but I guess it was 2 days ago now. They bumped back up a little bit, but definitely they're still way ahead of where they were, a week and a half ago when the Fed spoke. So
are they changing every day?
Oh, sometimes a couple times. Yesterday, 3 times within one day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's just, they're all over the map. So that's why you want to have a good lender there that's looking out for you also, and not just some person that's online that is just on to the next 15 phone calls that are waiting for them to call in.
Right. That's exactly what it's like.
We've had a few very recent experiences also with some of these online lenders that just are not able to execute on the loan. One of them's beating up a real estate agent that he sees buying a house, and he ended up talking, they called after he had his credit pulled, and they said, well, we're going to need to see your stuff from last month. Well, overall, the guy's great, but it's easy for a real estate agent to have a month that he or she doesn't close a house. And even though the guy closed 11, the following month, he had that 1 month, and they're just absolutely killing him over it because they really don't understand. If you're working at Starbucks one week and doing loans the next week, it's just nice to have some of this experience and doing it for a little while.
Yeah, that's a different kind of a buyer. And you do need some expertise on the lending side if you're going to have somebody help you qualify for that. What do you call that kind of income?
Well, it's just regular self-employed income.
Self-employed income.
Yeah. So it's just averaging over your 2 years, but will generally require, just depending on what time of year it is, a profit and loss from this year. And like I said, these guys just called him after he was in contract, offered him a ridiculously low rate. And I was like, well, if you can get it, I'd encourage you to. That's just how I've always done my business. And anyway, he's like, no, I'd really rather stay with you. And he's like, by the way, they're beating me up over the dumbest things that I don't even have on the regular buyers. So, just what you get offered sometimes, it isn't necessarily in the end what you really after. So I don't know. But
yeah, well, and a lot of our sellers don't really like getting offers with pre-approval letters from online lenders. It makes them nervous. So, and I know we don't have as many multiple offer situations as we used to, but still, even if you're the only one writing the offer and the seller is nervous about your lender, that stops the track right there.
It's important, it's important to have a good appraisal poll. I can't say which appraiser it's going to, but we do have control of who appraises for us. And that's just nice to know that, I won't mention any names, but one of those names doesn't pop up showing up to your house. And it's not that I want anything but a fair appraisal. That's all I ever want. My obligation is to my buyer. And I want them to have, a good, fair one, but having an appraiser that understands the difference in East Medford and West Medford or Ashland and town it's an important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just so a lot goes into doing decent numbers.
So earlier you were talking about jumbo loans, which is over 600 and something.
35, 200.
635.
Why I'm drawing a blank. I think I got Mexico on my mind. I'm moving to Mexico tomorrow.
Oh, you poor thing.
It's a house building thing for a charity. So
even better. I'm sorry, I was being snarky.
No, not at all. I will eat tacos at night. I'll tell you that right now. So.
Okay. But going back to the jumbo, because the prices got high fast. So that jumbo loan is a way to bridge those higher prices. And you're saying the interest rates on those in some cases are lower than the regular conventional.
Yeah. In order to get something decent, you're really going to want to have at least a 700 credit score it's not that some of them won't take lower, but to get, the really good deal. And my guy just happened to totally fit in on this thing where we just, didn't require big of a down payment. There's not mortgage insurance on those loans at all.
Oh, wow.
I guess it's 647, 200. So if you want to find a lender,
wow.
Anybody but me, because I was $10,000 off on that.
It's still an enormous amount of money.
A lot of our people are still selling from California, or they have such good equity in their house right now. They're coming in with huge down payments.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm not doing a lot of jumbo loans. I think people are, if you bought your house with Alice or somebody, call her up and ask her what your house is worth. I bet you'd be really pleasantly surprised by that.
Yeah. Even in these tumultuous times, people can still have some appreciation. It's really just the extreme price spikes, I think, that are going away. Don't you think?
I think so. Yeah. It gives a little bit of control because I'm always on the buyer's side. It gives a little bit of control to them back, which makes them feel a whole lot better, I think. For a little while there, it's been going so crazy, but I don't know, it's almost scary for them.
I'm sorry, can you say again, Beth?
I think it brings a little bit more normalcy.
Yeah, well, and that's not a bad thing. I I'm noticing the buyers have more houses to choose from right now. They're getting some time to think about what house they want to write their offer on. It's not such a frenzy. And I just think that's better for everybody.
Agree.
Yeah, just making the decision. You know, when you get the phone call, there's 3 other offers coming in. I don't know. My job's hard sometimes, but I can't imagine doing those in that situation.
So, when you're talking about these bigger loans, are people allowed to use those jumbo situations for a duplex or a fourplex?
Yeah, the only thing that changes is they do multiply the for conforming loans. If it's a multi-unit, the price goes up where you can still do the conforming loans. So it's not one of those situations. I mean, we generally just don't even have, duplexes. We're probably up around 750,000 for a duplex on that. And
yeah, they're expensive now.
Yeah, well, then it goes up to 3 units and 4 units. And honestly, I would have had to have prepared a little bit better for that, but the pricing for the conforming loans goes up on them too. So it's not necessarily limited to 647,000.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
And how does that work for the buyer? Do they get to include the rent in their pre-qualification or not? What are the rules about that?
If you don't have a prior history, it's a little bit different than if you have been a landlord before. So there's just a couple of different rules, but generally, like if you're exiting your house or something, but you decided not to sell it, we can give you credit for rents for that house. If you're buying a new house as an investment property, what they'll do is they will do what's called a rent schedule on the appraisal. So say I'm just buying an investment property, that will give us what the rent is that we can use for qualifying them. And generally, without tax returns of the history, we're at 75% of whatever those rents are coming in that we're able to get credit for. So a lot of people are choosing to buy their house or strategically, like we said, these young people are a lot more just sort of smarter about what they're doing, and they're not necessarily going for broke with the first house that they buy. They're buying something with it in mind, and in a few years they're going to buy something else and rent that one out. And I don't know, it's just kind of cool to see.
But I think the mindset of the millennial generation is so different from ours when we were buying. They're more strategic, they're more informed, like Beth was saying, they're more prepared, and they're more willing to sacrifice a little bit for a few years to do that deliberate wealth building, which is so smart.
Yeah, you see more of them just interested in investment properties as well, and not just looking for, just their primary residence, but a lot of them are interested in that.
Yeah, and they're great landlords because they were just recently a tenant, so they seem to be pretty business minding.
Yeah, there's that little donut truck on Central when you're driving downtown. I did a duplex for them a couple of years ago. And every time I drive by there, I just think they were the renters inside that duplex when I met them. And now they own it. We did an FHA loan and they bought that. And it's just, especially the FHA for these duplexes and multi-unit properties, if you're going to live there for a little bit, it is actually a really, really good program.
And doesn't it let you have a little lower credit score? Does the FHA program a little more forgiving?
They're a little more forgiving. The rates are a little bit lower. The one issue with the FHA is that mortgage insurance is for forever. But if your score is a little bit lower, you're going to really take a hit on a conventional loan on mortgage insurance. So it's not a bad option.
Well, and I guess if the rates do go up again, refinancing out, because what I'm saying is if you didn't have a great rate to start with, then that dilemma of refinancing later goes away if the rates are still high. I don't know. It's hard to make lemonade out of that situation.
No, but realistically, with the rates being a little bit lower, and there is the cap on the mortgage insurance on them, if it pencils out when you're moving in, it's going to pencil out.
And that's what matters. Yeah. So we're talking to Guy Giles and Beth Rodriguez of Churchill Mortgage. We'll be right back after a quick word. Don't go away. Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show. Alice Lema here. I'm a broker with John O. Scott Real Estate. We're talking to Guy Giles and Beth Rodriguez of Churchill Mortgage, our monthly in-house lender update. And during the break, Beth, I was happy to find out you're getting ready to have a first-time home buyer seminar. That is so exciting.
Exciting. Just
Well, when is the seminar going to be? And then let's talk about just what it's like to get ready to be a home buyer your first time.
Well, she's going to be doing it on August 12th at 1 o'clock. So you can maybe give your phone number so people can call you.
Yeah, phone number is 541-292-1477.
Okay.
And
you want a little bit more information on that. But yeah, we'll just basically be talking about some of those financing options, talking about the rate, buy down possibilities, the interest rate, being able to lock that for extended period. And so just giving them, some information, but also just talking about, what they can be doing to get ready. One of the things that we were saying over the break was that to have them, first of all, just to be able to come in and sit with us and kind of go over things, but also asking them, what are they paying in rent right now, and what is a comfortable maximum monthly payment for them. And then also to, if that is more, they say it's more than what they're currently paying in rent, but to have them just start paying themselves that. And then one, it's going to create automatic savings for them. And then two, it's just going to get them into the feel of what that payment feels like, and is it really truly comfortable for them by paying the that type of payment. So yeah, that's some of the things we'll be focusing on. And also I am bilingual and Spanish, so that is definitely near and dear to my heart, just that community, to be able to connect with them and for them to be able to speak with a lender, especially something, as big as a home purchase or refinance. To be able to talk about those things in their language makes a big difference and helps just have that trust.
Wow. Well, that is so super exciting. So when we're dealing with first-time home buyers, a lot of their frustration and sadness, I guess you will, is about the down payment. So how do you help them get ready? And how do you speak to that?
Well, I guess there's a few different ways. I mean, gift funds is a great way if you don't have.
Oh, there you go.
Just save that up yourself. We have a couple of programs now where we have a second mortgage that you can put on there, and depending on your income, so
really
0%. So we can. I think I'll bring some stuff in on those, but they're basically what we're calling the bond filler loans, where they're just a lot better than the Oregon bond, or Access is a great program. We do a lot to try to support them, but when they run out of their money for helping people with down payments, they're out of their money. And there's just some, a couple of different programs that we've just rolled out in the last week or so. And to be perfectly honest, I've been getting ready for this house built down in Mexico, and I haven't dug into them like I should, but I've printed it all off so I can read it on the airplane. And anyway, so we can definitely get some more information about those. But if people have a little skin in the game, it's always better. It just makes the deal a little better. There's usually give and take when it comes to some of these programs. From what I'm looking at, they are actually a really good benefit. But again, there'll be more to come when we come back on those.
Well, and you brought up the FHA program just a little while ago. I mean, that's a pretty low down payment. What's the percentage on that one?
That's 3.5%. And again, I believe with some of these programs, we'll be able to do what they call a soft second on some of them, just depending on your income, where really it's a 0% interest loan, to just kind of help you out with the down payment. But actually, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have a 3% down loan that you can do.
Really?
Yeah. And there's the Home Ready. I mean, that's something we just haven't talked about a lot, but finally the income limits went up on those. They were actually pretty low, and it just has to do with the average of the income for the area. So I believe they're up over $60,000 now, which doesn't sound like a ton, but if you don't have a lot of debt, you might just be able to get into a house with some lower some lower mortgage insurance and a little bit of a lower rate.
Wow.
Just specifically designed to help first time home buyers get into house.
So I was just running the numbers on a $400,000 house, and I'm not saying that's what you'd go, but it's kind of a round number. A 3% down payment, it's $12,000.
Yeah. And that might be worth mom and dad just to get you out of the basement. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. In some situations, it's the other way around. I have kids buying houses and bringing their parents with them.
Oh, a lot of that.
Yeah. So
it's not a bad thing.
It's not.
Families buy together.
Yeah.
It's all a lot more of that as well.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool if you have these 2 and 3 generational households. It just is good for everybody. And $12,000 down payment on a $400,000 house. $12,000 is still a lot of money, but I remember hearing Dave Ramsey one time talk about lattes. And what was the other? He's got like 3 things that people spend money on, that if they just saved up, they could actually have a small down payment pretty quick.
It's pretty amazing, and you brag about that. The biggest thing though is just getting your other debt under control, because I've had so many people come in and try to buy a house, and it's like you just basically have to look them in the eye and say, you're driving the house right now.
Because of their car
payment. Yeah. And I know that's one of his biggest things, as far as, not having, very much of your income, comparative to what car you're driving. And I guarantee you, whatever person you impress at that stoplight is going to be thinking about you in 3 minutes. So.
Well, I don't know. In Southern Oregon, I think a lot of us are just happy our rig runs.
Or maybe it's cheaper if they don't, with fuel prices where they are right now.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother interview, right?
Yeah.
So I guess
a second motorcycle this week.
Yeah, but since you brought it up, when you're vetting these buyers, do you look at their expenses? Do you look at their everyday household expenses?
We do. We look at car payments, credit cards. Obviously, student loans is something that's a big deal right now. We look at everything. The things that, believe it or not, they don't look at is the latte or all the little things. I mean, you could probably pick somebody's bank statement apart, and really say, look, you can save money here and there, but then that gets a little bit personal as far as that goes. But we dig into things. We look for ways, to save money, and if you can get into a house, like I said, it's always in the long run because you're better to be able to pay for somebody else's mortgage.
Yeah, and on the student loan piece, I'd like to add, because I've run across it a lot, where people think that their student loans are deferred, that we don't have to hit them with that payment, but we do. We have to hit, depending on the loan program, either 0.5% or 1% of the total loan balance. We do have to hit them with that. So it's good to get that out for people to know too. They're like, well, it's deferred, I don't have to worry about that, but it does come into play.
Veterans, if we can get something showing they don't have a payment for 12 months, then we don't have to hit them with that. So,
well, and that's why you need good lenders like Giles and Beth Rodriguez from Churchill Mortgage to help get ready to buy a house if you've never purchased before, or even to regroup because you're going for another one. So thanks, you guys. We've got to wrap it up, but we can't wait to have you back. Have a beautiful weekend, folks. Bye now.